Welcome to today's web conference, U.S. Azure Partner Community Call for March. I'd like to turn it over to your first presenter, Jonathan Gardner, National PTS for Microsoft. Jonathan, you now have the floor.
Thank you very much. This is Jonathan Gardner. As mentioned, I'm a National PTS for Microsoft. You're stuck with me today because your regularly scheduled host is actually working with a partner, Nick Johnson. So I'm going to be taking over today. Our agenda for today is really to come in to talk to you about a few of the things that have gone on since our last call, go through a quick demo of RemoteApp, and then actually the most important part of the call I failed to update on here, and it's really a discussion and demo around the new immersion program opportunities that are available to partners today. So most of you have already heard many times over that WPC is in July this year in Orlando, Florida. It's a great opportunity for you to connect with our team and the rest of the Microsoft team that you work with. It's really focused on you guys as a partner. You can certainly connect at any of the links that are on here, but we really encourage you to try and make it to that event. We look forward to meeting you all there and being able to have an opportunity to talk with you face to face. So as far as what's been going on from an Azure perspective over the past few weeks is really that in the big data space, the document DB announced its GA coming in April. So it's gonna go to general availability. That's our NoSQL database that we wrote to put in as platform as a service inside the Azure stack. We've got a couple of compute sizes. The A10 and the A11 compute sizes have been announced. Azure Search, our search as a service functionality has been announced, and then we've added some features to the Azure Media Services offering where we really go into premium encoding, and I highly encourage you to take a look at that announcement. It's got some really neat features, including a decision tree on when you should use it and some workflow functions that can automate the encoding process based on the file that you upload. In other words, you can say here's some rules about how I want to encode things, and when you upload a file, it automatically processes based on those rules. So it's some pretty neat stuff. Azure RemoteApp. If you guys haven't seen the Azure RemoteApp, it's our platform as a service offering around the remote application space, and this really supports our true play in the device and services part of our kind of mantra that we've really been pushing, and that's the ability to access your environment no matter where you are and no matter what device you're on, whether you're on a mobile device that's a phone-sized device, or you're on a tablet-sized device or a computer, whether it's joined to the work domain or not. And across all those devices, you want to have the capability to access that application. So if you're familiar with the remote desktop services that were built into the Windows Server platform, and you've used the remote app on the Windows Server side, this is our implementation that extends into the Azure space and allows you to consume that there. And we'll go through a demo of that here in just a second on what that kind of interaction looks like and how that works. So with that, there are two different offerings inside of that space, really two tiers, one designed for really lightweight applications, really running data entry applications where you may have something connected on the back end, and then you have standard knowledge worker applications where you'll deploy that out to a user where they can launch applications, and that's the kind of model that we'll walk through here today. So with that, I'm not going to take a whole lot of time to really run through a bunch of slides. I'd prefer to be able to show this to you in action. So let me switch over to that and present that application. So this is actually the Azure application, and I'm going to pull up the website as well. So in the Azure portal, on the left-hand side, when you find yourself in the remote app location, you can actually come in and deploy a new application for a remote app through the standard deployment tool. So I want to create a quick deployment. I can create a remote app and I can connect to it from the web, or I can connect to it and create it with a VPN connection. So I can actually have it secured inside of my environment, only accessible if you have VPN credentials into my environment, adding another layer of security. So when I go through, I can actually enter this information in. I can create the name of my remote application instance, where I want that to be hosted, and then the plan that I want it on. We have a couple of templates that we have available. We can also actually create your own template images, which you'll see here once we get into the remote app section. So I have a remote app collection. This is a default deployment that happens to have Office installed on it, and we'll show you what that looks like. You can see I don't have any virtual networks created, but you could actually connect it into a virtual network, making it accessible to things like websites or infrastructure as a service that you may also connect to your virtual network, so you can keep this in a completely enclosed space. And then template images. If you have a template image that you want to deploy a remote app on top of for your organization, you can use remote app to connect into to that space and deploy that as well. So this is that remote app section. So what happens is once you deploy the remote app piece, you can actually download the application for the client, and you can see the URL here. That will actually download on iOS devices, Android devices, and of course Windows devices. This is the application that installs on your machine that comes up. So this is an independent application, and it actually lists out all of the applications that are published inside of here. So if I wanted to launch Paint, for instance, this is signed into my specific instance. I click on Paint, and it's going to actually launch this remote application. For those of you who are familiar with what that looks like on the server side, let me make sure that you guys are actually able to see that coming up, and you are. So let me get back to that. So it's going to actually connect in and launch that application, in this case Paint, our basic Paint application, with a file already preloaded so that you can see this is actually running on the server. I can come in, make changes to that, and draw on it just like I would if it was running on my machine locally. But this is all deployed and running from the Azure platform. If I wanted to run a different application and wanted to maybe launch, asking me for a survey. If I wanted to launch Word 2013, I could do that as well. So I can open that right from the console, and the same experience extends to different type devices. So you're able to actually go in and launch this and run the remote app client on the something like an iPad if you wanted to. So you can see what this experience would look like if it was running. So this is the application loaded up, and you can see we have a predefined file already set up in here to demo. So if remote app is something that you're looking at in your environment, but want to extend out the capabilities into the cloud and provide that accessibility and availability into your Azure platform, we really highly encourage you to take a look at that. And it's going to ask me a survey every time. So the question came up that says, could you use remote app for about 100 users to let them access on-prem ERP? If so, which version, basic or standard? If your ERP system, and let me switch over here to the back to the slide deck very quickly. If your ERP system is web-based, in other words, you have a internal-only connection, you can create a VPN connection on-prem and connect to that through the web browser to enter that information. If it requires a application or just a standard application to connect to your ERP system and run, you can set it up. You'd want to deploy that, and you would need the standard version. So the basic would be for you to do it if it was just a web browser based extension. You'd create the VPN tunnel and then access the web browser from that. But if you need to do something like a standard application, let's say you're using one of our Dynamics tools, and you enter that through the console application, instead of through a web app, then you would need the standard version to deploy the application onto, and then connect back into your ERP system. So I hope that that helped answer that question. So with that brief piece of intro, I'm going to turn it over to Joel Nix, who's really the real reason you're here and the real interesting thing about that. I hope a little bit of piece of remote app kind of whetted your appetite to go out and take a look at it and play with it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us about remote app. You can certainly ask us in Yammer as well. But I'm going to turn it over to Joel at this point for him to really talk about some of the great things we have to offer in the immersion area.
Thank you, Jonathan. Let me take over as presenter here. It's loading up. Okay, so my name is Joel Nix. I am the technical immersion operations lead for the program. What we'll talk about is I'll give you a quick introduction to what the immersion program is and what it means for your business to be able to use. We'll then talk about how it's built out, how you use it in practice, the different tracks that we have, etc. And then at the end, I'm going to jump into the live environment and just give you a quick walkthrough of what that experience would look like as you're giving it to your customers. So the immersion program, we started about 4 years ago. It's a sales program that allows you as the seller to go out and give a consistent and technically backed message by allowing your customers to actually log into a live environment and move around, and it's a very scripted environment that allows them to go through and see the new technologies today. A few things to note down here at the bottom. One is this is a completely free program for all sellers. There is no cost to you at all. All costs associated with the program through Azure, etc., we take care of. There's also no special hardware needed. As long as you have a PC, a laptop, a tablet, whatever that can get onto the internet and open up an RDP session, you have the right hardware. Everything else is handled on our side. It is on demand. We have a scheduling tool that allows it to be scheduled 24 hours a day. It is remotely accessible. This is not on Microsoft Corp. So as long as you have internet, you could be at an MTC, at a customer location, Starbucks, it doesn't matter. Supporting content, we have lots and lots of supporting content for you to access, whether you have credentials into Corp or not. And then it is very hands-on, so you're going to be able to get those customers in as admins into a real-world type environment and actually create things real-time. So as far as our cloud platform goes, it is one environment that you log into that actually has 4 different tracks of content. So those different tracks are Transform the Data Center, where we talk about Server 2012 R2, System Center 2012 R2, Azure, SQL Server. At the beginning of May, we're going to be including the Windows Azure Pack and Visual Studio Online technologies, etc. We have Data Insights, which is focused mostly around SQL Server 2014, as well as a lot of big data and business analytics content. Enterprise Mobility, which is all around Configuration Manager, Intune, Office 365, and the whole BYOD story. And then finally, Application Innovation, which is going to be around Server, Azure, and then Visual Studio Online with some biz talk. So as you can see here, we do have customers that are looking for solutions that touch each of these tracks. So this is a good thing to have in your back pocket that allows you to then go in and actually let them touch it and see it before they buy it to give them that peace of mind that they're getting the right product. Again, these are some comments here from some of our field and partners that have been using this product from, globally. We are globally available. Everyone has found their own little niche to be able to use it, and so far the feedback has been extremely positive from the field. This is an example of one of our partners, Blue Granite, that has used the product. They've even gone out and created their own templates that they use to get the business drummed up with their customers. We are designed to be in that kind of 20 to 40% of the sales process. But again, we do see it used in different areas, but it is primarily all of our content is designed to give them that early on information before they are ready to buy it. Okay, let's look at the program itself. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 4 tracks of content. And across those 4 tracks, there's currently about 15 hours worth of content. Now, each of these tracks are then divided up further into different modules. We call them Envision, Evolve, and Experience. The hands-on piece where the attendees are actually logging in, that's going to be the experience side, the 300 level content. But we do also have a lot of content around the Envision and Evolve, or the 100 and 200 level, which is going to be more geared towards your higher level BDMs, your CIOs and IT director types. These two here go hand in hand, and they are PowerPoint and video driven only. If you schedule an Envision and Evolve through our system, you do not get logins. The logins are more for your true IT pros, solution architects, DBAs, etc. So the 4 tracks that we have are, again, transforming the data center. This one has 4 experiences and 2 stories each. Inside of a story, there are generally about 3 to 5 scenarios. And then those are designed so that you do them one right after the other. You cannot skip around, but you can skip the different stories here. So we make this very modularized so that if your customer is primarily interested in application management, you don't have to show them all of the infrastructure foundation side as well. You can pick and choose what you want to show them by story. So that's transform the data center. These are divided up to be about 30 minutes worth of content per story. Therefore, each experience is about an hour. So for TDI, we have 4 hours worth of content. Here we have data insights. Again, we've broken data insight up into 2 different subtracks. We have data platform, which has 2 hours of content. And then we have the big data and business analytics, which has 4 experiences, therefore 4 hours worth of content. Enterprise mobility is the one that's a little bit different from the rest of them. In enterprise mobility, the A stories are all end user based stories. So as an example, in 1A, the self-service device enrollment, we actually have a Windows 8 and a Windows Phone emulator inside there. And we go from the storyline of Vince, our employee, wants to enroll his personal devices to be able to get company apps. Then over here on the B side, these are all the IT pro sides. So in this particular B story, we show within configuration and manage Intune, what did the IT pros have to set up so that Vince was able to do that. So these are designed a little differently than the rest of the tracks. And then finally, we have the applications innovation. We have 3 experiences around this one. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the environment itself that you're getting into. So you've seen what's kind of the technologies that are built out, but what does that actually look like? So when we say you're scheduling an immersion session, you're actually getting access to what we call a pod. A pod can have up to 30 attendees and 2 facilitators logged in at the same time. And a pod consists of 5 physical servers. Across those 5 servers, we have about 220 VMs running. And then each pod has their own subscriptions out to Azure, Intune, Office 365, etc. And we have a lot of pre-built material in there. Now, note that these are very built out to replicate real world as possible. Uh, because of that, and because we have to turn these over very quickly for the next session, these are scripted environments. They are told step by step what to do. So these are not meant to be POCs of any type. You or your customer cannot inject their own data into it. It's not designed so that you can go off and do something outside of the script. You do need to stick to the script. We do have 30 people doing the exact same things. So in some cases, we can't physically let them do that. So we may have some click-throughs as part of it. But in general, they are working on live systems as full administrators. So let me show you now. I'm going to switch out of this and into a live environment and show you what it looks like starting from this page here where we could select our track. So I'm going to share. Okay, I'll give it just a moment here and I'm going to share my desktop. Okay, so I am logged into our live environment. I've already kind of gone through the whole RDP process, opened up the Immersion application and logged into it. And I'm now at the point where I can select which track I want to go into. Now, as I mentioned earlier, all 4 tracks are actually pre-built into these. But if I wanted to go into transforming the data center, I'd simply click on it. You can see my layout that I have my 4 experiences and my 2 stories each. And then at the end of every track, there's also a full feedback section where they can do a ratings system and all that. So if I was to come into experience 1, I see the introduction. You're generally, as a facilitator, you'll be using the master deck in conjunction with this. So at the beginning of each of these experiences, you're probably going to do about a 5-minute or 10-minute introduction before you turn them loose on the step-by-step. So you're going to come through, review what it is you're going to be looking at in here. We then start to get into the storyline. So we talk about the technologies we're going to be looking at today. And then we get into the actual Contoso story. Everything's written with personas. And so we talk about Richard, who is our data center admin. He's begun to transform his data center by moving to these technologies, but he has an issue where he's found large amounts of storage at risk. His issue is he has no current budget, and he has a couple other things he wants to look at as well. So we're going to show, using these technologies and these components of these technologies within this particular story, how he can make those 3 things happen. So we then go to next, and we're now at our step-by-step guide. Now, the first thing that they will notice is generally step 1 of every scenario is opening something, a console, IE, whatever. So we've made this easy. This is a link. So all they have to do is come up, click on it. It then goes through, and it takes a couple seconds, but it does a little magic where it goes through, it snaps the guide to the right-hand side, it opens up the desktop, and then it opens up that console that it's been requested to open, in this case, Server Manager. So now they can go through, and on the right-hand side here, they can scroll down and do their step-by-step. Now, one thing I want to point out is at the very beginning when they log in, there's a profile page. And on that profile page, we have things listed like, I'm logged in as Richard 43. So it takes that 43 and it embeds it into the guide per user. So if you were sitting right next to me logged in as Richard 20, yours would actually say app 20. So we do a lot of work where we embed content for each and every user, primarily due to the fact that we have them doing the same exact thing. They all can't create a VM called VM01. So they simply just scroll through, they get to the end, we close out their scenarios. We go into the next one. We're now at scenario 2. We know there's 4 scenarios within this story. So as we go through, we even do things like, here we say, open Windows PowerShell. So it opens it up, and we have script here. Well, instead of them having to type it out, we've put a little clipboard at the end of every line that we have script. They left click it, come over to the window, right click, and it puts them in there for them. That's especially helpful with like the data insights track where you're in SQL Server Management Studio and we have some fairly lengthy scripts that they would put in. We get to the end, we're always having them close out of consoles just to keep things clean. They go through, we're into scenario 3. As we go through this one, here at step 12, you'll notice there's some dashed boxes. These are facilitator notes. Because I'm logged in as a 40s account, I can see the facilitator notes. That's why we have 2 accounts for the facilitators. All of the attendees would see step 12, click next, and then step 13 would just be right below it. But we do have these, but please, we'll talk more in the intro to immersion call I'll talk about later on how that gets affected by who's logging in when. So as we get through this environment, we get to the last scenario. And when we click on this one, at the end of each story, we actually have a feedback section here where we just ask 3 quick questions. And then they can hit submit and it moves them right into story B. At the very end of this, I'm going to back up to the main page. Again, I had mentioned we have a feedback section. This is where they can come in and then do a grading system on how well the whole session went. All of this information then gets converted back to our scheduling tool, and you can then go in and review what the results were from the customers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting. Kim, if you could put that deck back up, please.
Sure.
Okay. It's reloading for me. Okay, so finally, we are call to action here. The next thing we would ask of you to do is attend one of our intro to immersion calls if you're interested in using our program. We have these calls, this is going to be Pacific time, but every Wednesday at 5 p.m. and every Thursday at 7:30 a.m. I give the same intro to immersion call. You only need to attend one of them, where we will go over what the program is, where you can get content for the program, how to do the scheduling process, what you can expect from us when something has been scheduled, etc. So I do see a question, can this be done on Windows 7? Yes, this will work on both Windows 7 and Windows 8. What happens is you're actually just doing an RDP session that comes in and then you're using our desktops inside. So please attend our intro to immersion call. To get a link invite, you can email us at immersionsupport@microsoft.com and we let us know which date, Wednesday or Thursday, works best for you, and we'll send you the link call. Once you've attended an intro to immersion call, you can then get access to our weekly self-paced training pod, where we give you a login for 1 week so that you can walk through and do it from the attendee perspective. Also, if you want to ahead of time, you can go out to the Microsoft Partner Server and Cloud.com site. Where it asks you for the username and password, simply put in immersion, all lowercase. This is our kind of one-stop shop for all of our content. And then next, after you've done your training and everything, you would then engage with your Microsoft Partner Manager on setting up your immersion sessions and getting them scheduled. And then finally, once everything's ready, you would be out delivering sessions. Okay, that's all I have. Are there any questions? No questions? Okay. I will turn it back over to, I believe, Jonathan.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us, and I think it's somewhat of an anecdote. The immersion, when I actually am somewhat new to Microsoft, and when I was with a partner, the immersion tools were some of the best sales tools we had available to us at any point during my time working with Microsoft. That was certainly certainly a great thing, because it was able to show with demo content what an actual live environment would look like. So for all of you guys that are on the call today, I highly encourage you to reach out and take the immersion training and take advantage of the offering we've put together in that space. Next month, we're going to talk about, our theme will be really around data platforms. So look to see blog posts come out from our team, and the newsletter, and the focus of call next month is really going to be around SQL Server on Azure, and all the big data pieces that we have in play. We encourage you to connect with us through through our partner community. You'll see our blog posts. You'll see the Yammer group is available. We highly encourage you to do that, and then of course through signing up for our newsletter that becomes available, and then joining on this call. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. If not, you can reach out to us on Yammer after the call. We're going to publish this recording afterwards, and really we couldn't do this entire story without you guys as partners, really making that connection. We really enjoy working with you every day throughout our engagements. And with that, that's our call for this month. So Kim, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you found today's information helpful. If you enjoyed today's web conference or have feedback on how we can provide you with a better event, please let us know by completing our survey. Please click the messages button to find the link to the survey. The survey is on a scale from 5 to 1, with 5 being the highest score possible. And partners may access the web conference recording through the worldwide Microsoft event site in approximately 48 hours. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters, Jonathan and Joel. This concludes today's web conference. You may now disconnect.